Hello all, my name is Alexis. For my paper, I chose to discuss humor in the health field. Why I think this is an important topic basically rides around the fact that health is extremely hard to talk about. Think about your conversations with anyone else regarding health. It's just uncomfortable to discuss, it's privative. It's something that you shouldn't have to discuss with others. That's many people's mindset regarding health. And that field also has a lot of stress in it. There's burnout, high turnover rate, and that all could also deal with the fact that many people just don't like discussing health. So I think there's a lot of stress in that field in general. Therefore, there should be a way to help doctors, nurses, and patients who are in that field, and anyone who just has to discuss health, cope with the stress of the field, and there should be a way to help them talk about conversations, and that's where I believe humor comes in. Humor has been previously shown to help people cope with stress. It's really infectious, and it's been shown in research that a smile can change someone's day. So I definitely want to look and see, when you put humor and health together in the healthcare field, what it can do for patients, workers, and nurses. For the rest of the speech, we'll discuss a few things about humor, talk about some research that has been shown in humor, discuss the healthcare field, then bring up some implications in the field, and then we'll just round it up together and see if humor can help those who are in the field. So come along for a ride. Alright, so before we get into the benefits of humor, we gotta get a little background information on it. So first we're gonna discuss humor orientation. That's a trait which basically says if you enact in funny things and you perceive yourself as funny, you have a high humor orientation trait. Low humor orientation traits would be that you don't perceive as much as funny, and you don't try to engage in jokes as often. So depending on your humor orientation, you might be more susceptible to using positive or negative humor. Yes, there is good and bad humor usage. So for negative humor, there's things like self-deprecating jokes, aggressive jokes, and things of that nature. They're not really positive or help the sender and receiver. So we're not going to focus on that humor because research has shown it's not really helpful in the field. But when you get to positive humor, it is shown that using positive humor can help decrease stress by stimulating endorphins in our circulatory and respiratory system. It also shows that positive humor, I don't know how to say it like that, but it also shows that positive humor is a great coping mechanism for people of all ages. Adults have been known to use humor for tension release and then stress release, as well as college students have been shown to use humor just to get through work and their daily life struggles. Definitely humor is great when you use it for positive reasons. Alrighty, so now that we've discussed humor and talked about how it can help people out, we need to get into the healthcare field in general. So let's talk about doctors first. Doctors are like your main go-to in the field. They are the ones that give you the prescriptions. They're the ones that you look to for all that helpful knowledge. When you don't know what's going on with yourself, doctors are just our go-tos. And that is an extremely stressful job. I know many of us, including myself, would not be comfortable in that position. Things that doctors have to go through every day are not being able to explain illnesses to patients, diagnosing foreign illnesses, working those long hours, and just overseeing a lot of patients. Just a culmination of so many things that can definitely stress you out. Next, we're going to discuss our nurses. Nurses have been known to work some of the longest hours. They sometimes have to stand in for those doctors. They are always on call when you need them. They're normally that first go-to, and they are known to miss their breaks often. So research has just shown that nurses have also gone through a lot when they are in the field as well. So alright, so the last role we're going to discuss in the field is patients. I know we have all known a patient that has gone to the doctor or seen a nurse before, and you know how stressful that can be when you don't know what's happening with your body. There's a foreign illness and you just want to get some information on it. Those doctors and nurses definitely always step in and try to help out as much as they can, or they try to do the best that they can in their realm of knowledge. So there's just a lot of stress going on with every role, nurses, doctors, and patients in that field. And we definitely need to have a way to alleviate some of those tensions and make those conversations easier. Okay, so now since I've given background on humor, how it can be helpful, and talked about all the stress and implications in the field of healthcare, we're going to talk about how when you mix humor and the field together, there are some beautiful things that come about. So research has previously shown that doctors already use humor in their everyday life activities and work activities just to make the job go by easier. They said this humor helps them increase their conversations and their patients' moods. Nurses have also been shown to use humor just to get through their day. Little banter and wordplay between each other definitely helps them out a lot. Humor was used by nurses and doctors just to navigate through the work life. And it also helped connect the patients and the providers. It opened up this door where they both could communicate freely, and even when there was an illness or an issue, it made it not as stressful to discuss. So there have even been several examples in previous research that just has shown how helpful humor can be when you use it in the healthcare field. An article from Windsor et al. In 2006 discussed how nurses use humor to cope with their hectic life and work struggle every day. They said little jokes and little wordplay would be used when they were in passing. Sometimes at little meetings they would have to do little jokes on note boards, and they would just make little humor with their patients because the field that they were in is just, it's very stressful, and there's a lot of death and things occurring around them that they need a pick-me-up from. So humor was definitely shown to be extremely helpful to those caregivers and nurses as well as the patients in the field, because it perked them up and it made the situation not seem as dark and dim at times. Moyer et al. In 2011 even had a study that showed that with the use of humor, unplanned pregnancy was able to be joked about and not seen as serious when you discuss it with groups of people. And we know how stressful unplanned pregnancy can be. So I think that's definitely something that we need to think about, how just something as strong as that to many of us can be relieved through the use of humor. We discussed how humor can be good and how there have been many positives shown with the usage of humor. We do have to point out the negatives. So as discussed earlier, one can have a high or a low humor orientation, and that can affect a lot of the jokes that you are susceptible to. So if someone has a low humor orientation and they're cracking jokes that are negative, those aren't really helpful in the field, and they actually have been shown to make patient-provider communication more stressful. So those type of jokes are not helpful in the field, and they won't help bring down stress. They might increase those. So any type of negative communication won't help, but normally most people use positive communication. Fortunately for us, it has been shown that most doctors and most nurses and patients in the field don't encourage or engage in negative humor because it does add on to that stress. So most humor in the field is already positive. And then another implication that comes with humor usage is doctors have been shown in research to not use humor because they don't know how it will affect the patient. But research has shown that sometimes patients would prefer it over nothing. Patients would prefer to at least have something to open up the air, clear the air, or a joke to help get through a situation. Thank you for sitting through the speech on humor and healthcare. We all know humor has many benefits. It's definitely a great coping mechanism. It's been shown that it helps adults, children, just people of all ages cope with anything that they are going through. It's also great for stress relief and tension relief. Research has pointed at that. And then we do know that there is positive and negative humor. Negative humor hasn't been shown to be as helpful as positive. So definitely we encourage to go for that positive humor, but any humor has been shown to be better than no humor. And the field of healthcare is just very stressful. There's a lot of things that nurses, doctors, and patients go through and experience that just can bring them down, and they do need that little pick-me-up from now and then. So humor has been shown in many studies to help nurses get through their jobs, caregivers, and even patients and their providers have better communication with each other. So humor has been shown to have all these benefits. It's already been shown in studies to help patients and nurses and doctors in the field. So